Well, joining me now to talk a little bit more about events in Egypt is Egyptian writer Tarek Osman, who's the author of Egypt on the Brink, From Nasser to Mubarak. Thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. And so we know that there is no timetable, there is no solid timetable yet for parliamentary and presidential elections in Egypt. We're expecting some sort of declaration in the next 24 hours. What are you watching for?
One, a new process that is clear enough. Two, whether that process will be able to bridge the most important variable today, which is this huge social divide in the country, not on President Morsi, not on the future of the Muslim Brotherhood, but on the identity of the state itself. I think that's the real challenge facing every single political player in Egypt today, how to bridge that. It is extremely dangerous, of course, because it's not a political story, it's a social divide.
Do you think that those differences are going to be resolved at the ballot box, or is there now a risk of, we've already had a series of clashes in a number of Egyptian cities, could that escalate into something more serious in the coming weeks, perhaps even months?
I think every scenario is on the table right now, but Egypt has had many experiences before with points of peril, if you'd like, and any rational political player in the country, I think, wants to avoid having itself or the country facing the chance of a moment of chaos. So I'm very optimistic, well, optimistic, not very optimistic, but optimistic that the country and the different players will opt to participate in something more structured than just continuous demonstrations on the streets from various social points of view.
The coup has obviously dealt a severe blow to the Muslim Brotherhood. What might their next step be now? Do you think that they're likely to forge ahead with political ambitions?
They have a huge constituency in Egypt at the end of the day. In December 2011, January 2012, they won over 40% of the parliamentary seats in that time. And certainly the Brotherhood has lost significant part, probably, of its support over the past year because they took massive responsibilities on or in a time of huge social and economic challenges. But still, it is one of the most important political players in the country. So to opt out of the political position and the elections coming in parliament, it would be quite strange. And the second point is, at the end of the day, political Islam in Egypt in general is not just the Muslim Brotherhood, there are other factions. So that current can manifest itself into new players. Part of them can have ideas similar to the Muslim Brotherhood, mainstream Islamism, if you'd like.
But do you think those new players are going to have much confidence in the political process now that we've had a situation where there was an election, somebody won, there was unrest on the streets and the army intervened? How dangerous a precedent has this set in Egypt?
But the army intervened after millions took to the streets. So again, it's back to the social division. It's not an element of pure assertive of power. There was part of that, of course, but it came after very clear expression of anger by millions on the streets. And what we are seeing right now is the opposite. There are other hundreds of thousands, probably millions as well, who are supporting political Islamic views.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? Because they did get more than 50% of the vote at the ballot box. You had many millions coming out against Mohamed Morsi and his government, but nevertheless you have many others who elected them.
So at the end of the day, it is a social divide. How would you resolve something like that? It has to be a structured process, and that structured process had to go at the end to the ballot box.
Tarek Osman, good to get your analysis on this.
Thank you for having me.